So as you can tell, Brenda and I are not together, unfortunately, and I know you have all missed us for this pregame. Brenda, how's everything up in New York?
It's a beautiful day. Flight up was good. I think for those of us who fly American and come into LaGuardia, it's actually not a bad trip anymore. With the I don't know that this if LaGuardia is completely refinished. I think there's still work being done, but the American area is nicely done, and it's a cool place to come. Lots of cool things, and certainly good heading into the city for a meeting. As you know, after not to jump right into Candid Conversation, but our Candid Conversation is showcasing. We haven't been in front of people for a while, Mark. We've got a lot to talk about. We only have 10 minutes. We probably need a good hour to go over all that has happened with Matrix in the past. As if people might not know, because we certainly get it out there as much as we can, right? We are a
well, we've been told we're a PR machine.
Yes, that's right.
Which as a CEO, you like to hear that, right? I mean, it's always
right.
Good. So it's interesting, just jumping into some topics here. So we have, we're talking about media transformation for our Candid Conversation this time. I should put a plug in. We are coming back to you live with the Media Ad Sales Summit. That's November 9th. Do I have the right date?
9th through the 11th.
Through the 11th, that's going to be in Fort Lauderdale this time. So we certainly would love to see everybody come down right before the busy holiday season. You get a nice weekend or pre-weekend in. So we have that. But as we go into talking about media transformation, I was thinking, and some of the things we'll talk about, one thing that's always been on my mind, as you know, when we talk about traditional broadcasters, is the whole over-the-air free model, right? So historically, you're probably too young to remember this, Brenda. We used to just have,
I'm sure.
I grew up in Philly. We had like 7 or 8 television stations. That was it. We had the rabbit ears. And, it was all supported via ad revenue. As time went on, cable companies, satellites, we saw the increase in retrans fees. And so it really, I think at a certain point, right, retrans fees, we'll see what happens. I mean, right now they're still good and stable, but as people continue to cut the cord, I do see that home penetration of rabbit ears is actually increasing again. I view it as an opportunity to make more money off of ad revenue, particularly as we go to ATSC3 with dynamic ad insertion, all that. So anyway, I'm going to get to it. So I looked up and I saw the stats of retrans fees to ad revenue. And I always thought it was half and half, right? Wasn't that always your impression?
Close, very close, right? Yes.
So when I
51-49, but yeah.
Yeah, when I looked at the average, it was actually quite interesting. It was around 40% retrans, 60% advertising. So more in advertising than I had actually thought, because I thought it would be closer to 50-50. And so then it got me thinking, there's only 2 that make significantly more retrans fees than they do ad revenue. And what was interesting is both of them are not Matrix clients, which indicates to me that they're not able to really do as well on the ad revenue space because they're not using our product.
I don't know.
I mean,
that's right.
I don't know.
Sense,
what do you
right?
think? Could be.
I would jump to that conclusion for sure, right? Why? Yeah. Of course, because our clients are generating tons of ad revenue, and I think also interesting, if you look at the public companies, their statements, their earnings statements, while digital is still, a small percentage of total ad revenue, it is growing in double digits, where, traditional linear inventory or ad revenue is growing, but in single digits. But I think what's really cool, and especially about this panel that we've got today, or this Candid Conversation, is this group gets it, right? They've got it. They've bought, they've invested. They're working to change the industry to make whatever inventory they're monetizing, easy to buy. This is, not quoting Mark, but easy to buy, easy to understand, easy to generate revenue. So I do think that that's important. I think, along the retrans, and I know there has been a lot, and you started this by over the top, but OTA, and there has been a lot of conversation about how to make sure that the broadcasters get their piece of that pie. There's got to be a retrans, if you will, on the OTA. We'll see where that goes. I still submit to something you say all the time, or at least for the past few years, and that is, when you look at the competition, we've got to be able to make, this valuable inventory easy to get to. And you're going to talk about that today. And we as an industry, both technology companies and the media companies, need to work together to move it in the right direction. I think, this conversation shows that there are certainly some progressive media companies, not just with like digital content, but with the technology, that are willing to, what they say, you might remember this slogan, put their money where their mouth is.
That's right. Well, I've been saying that since I was a wee lad. So
that's right.
But anyway, we're going to get into all that. Was just one interesting fact, and then just a little light commentary. It was interesting because Sinclair, actually, according to this BIA Kelsey data, they were like 53 or 54% retrans fees. So I thought that was quite interesting.
That is interesting. Their model is, it's interesting.
It's different.
Yep.
So on a lighthearted note, I don't know if you saw this in the news. They have this massive, I don't know what you call it. It's not really a satellite, but it's a dish. I think it's like 500 meters wide in China that listens for radio waves throughout the universe to see if there's extraterrestrial life. I don't know if you saw that story, that they have picked up on 3 waves that they think is possibly extraterrestrial. So I thought that was, maybe these are the first signs.
Well, I think there are some other signs. I also, somewhat related, but tangential maybe, that the U.S. government is releasing more and more information about objects that they see that we don't identify. I just recently read an article and watched the History Channel, which was William Shatner was the host. So go with it, whatever you want. But it gives me a little bit of pause. I'm starting to believe that there clearly is life out of Earth, and maybe been here way off of, outside of Earth, and way long, here long before us. And maybe they're, just seeing how we do, and they might come back, they might not. And then the whole ocean part too, not just, air, but what's underneath is, massive amount of water that we don't know what's underneath. So
well,
it is
at least it's not Independence Day.
That's well, not yet. but there was a Top Gun Maverick, there was a,
yes,
there was a I wouldn't, I guess not a remake. It's doing great. I know you saw the sequel. You saw the Jurassic Park.
Neither one was that great for me, but
so. To see what we can get to. I'm looking forward to talking about going backwards. Maybe I'm looking to the Elvis Presley, movie.
Yeah.
I think it comes out next week. I'm actually looking, forward to that. Not giving away my age in any way, but did have a little crush on Elvis when I was a wee lass.
Well, it is time. We appreciate you all joining us for the pregame. Stay tuned. We're going to jump right into Candid Conversations after this. Deanna, go for it. Okay, welcome everybody to Candid Conversations. It's been a while. Anne, Karen, Alan, Stephanie, welcome. Thrilled to have you all here. Today, we're going to talk about, for the next 40 minutes or so, transforming the media industry, specifically around some of the challenges, how we work with technology, etc. But before we do that, what we'll do is we'll go around the room. I'll call on each one of you because I know on Zoom it's a little harder. But you know who you are, what organization you're with, what you do there. Keep it quick. And if you could only ever eat one type of pie again in your life, what would that be? And I see Stephanie's panicked. For me, I would have said apple until about 2 years ago. I had a salted caramel pear pie. And so that would be the one that would be up on my list. So I'm going to start with Anne because she's smiling, and let's see how she goes.
You promised us you were going to throw us some questions we weren't expecting. Ann Heiler, I am the president of CoxReps. We have about 300 broadcast television stations that we represent around the country. Present company included here as well. Favorite pie, and Mark, similarly, I tried key lime pie about 3 years ago, and I'm never going back to anything else. So key lime pie all the way for me.
Okay. I'm going to go going down the line. Al?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Al Lustgarten. I'm the Senior Vice President of Technology and Information Services for Hearst Television. I oversee ad tech, ad ops, and all aspects of information technology. I'm a chocolate person, and on top of my list would be mud pie.
Karen.
Good afternoon. I'm Karen Yager. I'm the Senior Vice President of Sales Operations for Gray Media Group. We have 113 markets across the country. I oversee just about everything that sales needs, vendors and process and so on and so forth. And that's a tough one because I really like pie, but I'm going to go with pumpkin. That is my favorite.
Classic.
I unfortunately have bad memories of pumpkin pie. We can get into that later. Stephanie.
Thanks for going last so I could really come up with my answer because I was super stressed about that one. So I'm Stephanie Slagle with Graham Media Group. I'm the Vice President and Chief Innovation Officer, overseeing all of our digital products and also revenue side as well. And my favorite pie, I'm with Al, I'm a chocolate person. So for me, chocolate silk pie forever. That's it.
Okay, I'm just gonna say, out of those four, I'd probably go to key lime. But that shows you, like, I love fruit. So especially when it's in salted caramel. So why don't we jump into it? So first of all, thank you all for joining us here. And if people watching aren't familiar, these four organizations have partnered with Matrix hand in hand to develop the new, what we call an automated converged sales conduit, basically the automation of workflow from buyer demand all the way through order fulfillment, getting rid of all those swivel chairs, making it much more efficient and making the process faster, and really ultimately looking to help the media industry maximize the inventory that you all are selling. So they have all partnered with us on this project, and we appreciate that, obviously, but it really comes to this conversation. So we'll talk about why later. I always like to think, when I think about challenges, particularly from a technology standpoint, what am I trying to solve? Where are my biggest issues? So why don't we jump in? And just so people know, three of you are broadcasters. We have Anne, who's coming to us from CoxReps. You're a rep firm, and you are a partner to these companies and helping them sell their revenues, but challenges may be a little bit different, right? So we're going to cover everybody's topics here, but why don't we start with, when you think of what the future holds and where you need to go from a technology perspective, what would you think are the three biggest challenges that your organization faces, whether that's adapting to ATSC 3.0, whether it's all this conversation about what's going to happen with measurement. So I'm just going to jump in here, and I'm going to start with you, Karen, just because I see your photo.
Great. So I would say for us, and I think for a lot of the industry, the first one is definitely modernizing the sales transaction pipeline. Like many cities in the United States, our pipes are getting pretty old here, and we need to start looking at new ways to create better processes for our clients and our agencies so that it's not so hard to buy us. I hear all the time from agencies that their local media department is so much larger than all the others because it's so hard to buy us. So that's number one. Second is to work to unify our screens. We're not digital and linear anymore. We have so many fragmentations out there in our arena that we need to realize that we're a screen video company and not just television or digital anymore. And we're not our own biggest competitors anymore. Our biggest competitors are in retail and video production and some other areas. And I think the third is measurement. I think playing to our strengths. I think that this 2D measurement that we live under is really hard on local broadcasters because our local news and local programming are worth more than the numbers they're getting from any of the measurement services. Our local news viewers are, they're loyal to us, and so they're loyal to our advertisers. So I think that those audiences are way more valuable than we get credit for.
So we'll move down the line, but I do want to make a commentary on that last point. That is something that I wholeheartedly believe that is a real failure in measurement. In digital and all measurement today, it doesn't account for the type of engagement you're getting with that specific viewer, right? And the same ad in one type of content could have one type of impact on that viewer versus another. And that is a massive problem. But I guess part of what the challenge that your sales team has to do, they have to be able to convey that. So Al, what are your thoughts, challenges?
Well, you know, we didn't rehearse what our responses were going to be amongst the panelists, but I think this is going to be re-summarizing other people's comments. And the way I would re-summarize Karen's comments are, you know, make local television easy to transact with. And to me, that is streamlining the buy-sell platforms that are out there, as well as addressing workflow inefficiencies within our legacy platforms would be the first one. You know, enable technologies that will allow for the use of impressions as common currency would be the second one. And then I created a third bucket that just said data-driven insights. I mean, the buzzwords of today have become attribution, custom audiences, you know, bring all the capabilities that we're able to attain on our digital products to our linear products, and we can use technology to enable that.
Yep. Okay. You know what? Now I do think you added things that were different than what you said, in fairness. But when I'm about to repeat what somebody says, I just say ditto. Like at home, when I hear "I love you," I just say ditto. Right. Stephanie.
I love you, Mark. So my three are similar, but I've got a little bit of a difference on it. Probably the number one I think that we've got to nail is attribution and measurement, kind of to Al's point, because this is really what our customers are coming to us for, right? Is results. And right now it's mostly done on IP basis, which is a pretty unreliable metric. And so that's a real big issue for us. User privacy and proliferation of app stores is going to continue to be a problem as that becomes more and more mature. And also who owns the data, right? This is going to be a big piece of the problem too. So that's under one. Also verification, right? Verification that the ads, inspiring confidence in our customers that the ads are running and that they're running accurately. All the things that on the digital side we've worried about for years, but are now, you know, kind of creeping into our world. And then local scale. So much of these technologies and platforms that are in place are really, of course, start at the national scale. and they hide a lot of the errors and issues because we're talking millions and millions. When you get right down to a local targeted area, scale becomes an issue that we all have to watch for and learn how to mitigate through, and as the audience grows.
Great. Now, Anne, as I said, in this case, you're a partner, but also you face some unique challenges that are potentially different than these organizations, right? As they look to do one transformation, what are the challenges you face?
Yeah, and many of the challenges are the same. So when you think about the challenges that my clients from the broadcast side feel, our challenges are an extension of their challenges, except that it is amplified across the need to meet national advertisers where they need us to be. So there's technology out there that's coming from all ends. There are clients that will buy into certain technologies. As a rep firm, we need to be able to navigate all of that and meet both sides where they need us to be. So when you think about technology solutions, when you think about measurement needs, when you think about access and full screen, multi-screen solutions, local's been able to take advantage of that with local clients, I think a little bit better than we've been able to do at the national level, simply to Stephanie's point, because of the way that scale is being utilized. So those unique offerings that each local broadcaster has, the unique position that they hold in these marketplaces, we need to be able to help those broadcast clients get those national advertisers to that spot. That's truly, and it needs to be efficient. It needs to be a smoother process. It needs to be multi-screen. It needs to have measurement that meets all of the needs that digital's finding today, and do that no matter how big or small our broadcast client is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so when we think about what's happening in the future, and I think everybody knows who's ever done a panel that you do a little prep ahead of time. But I like to mix the questions up because then, it keeps people on their toes. But this is a question in the prep. When I think of, if I'm sitting in your shoes, how do I approach technology, right? I have one of three ways of doing it. I can either try to build it in-house, which is clearly, we've seen over time, CBS, for example, historically built a lot of their own technology, right? And that comes with its own benefits as well as its own challenges. You can choose to just wait. And I have had this comment made to me by more than one people in the industry. Why can't you just figure out how to build what we need? We'll take a look at it and then we'll decide if we want. And I said, that's fine. But as you all know, I always say I'm from finance. So the person who takes the risk makes the money, right? And we know digital has really eaten a lot of money out of the publisher, right? So, and then thirdly, you can choose to partner as you all have done here. So I'd like to have you talk about how you view your technology strategy and what made you decide to be part of this build. And I am going to, Karen, I'm going to ask you to go first again, and this won't be a trend, but I'm asking here because you all were the first group to say, we're in, we want to do it. And that doesn't diminish anyone else here. I want to make that clear. We are incredibly grateful for the partnership. But given that you took that step, Karen, I'm curious as to your thoughts.
Well, first of all, I would say that using hope on a business level hasn't worked very well for me in the past. So I generally try to avoid that one at all costs. Secondly, I would say that every great journey starts with the first step. And I think at Gray, we felt like it was time to make a step in a direction, hopefully the very right direction that will make this amazing transformation in this industry. And it was time for us to make a step. And so that's what we've done. And you've been a great partner for us through Monarch for years. We use your technology a lot in a lot of departments and places. And you've been a great partner for us. So it seemed pretty natural to partner with you guys again and take that first step toward the future that this industry needs, right? Leave the industry better than when you came in, when you leave. And that's what we're trying to do with this.
Right. And so, Anne, I'm going to come to you next. Why Matrix is in, we are in at CMG. We obviously are not in at CoxReps, so it's maybe a bit of a different analysis for you when you
Right.
make that decision.
Right. So as I said at the beginning, our broadcasters need us to be part of this solution. And the most courageous thing we can do is to offer our resources, put up some of our money from a resources standpoint, and lean into this process with our clients and with the industry. The decision to work with Matrix based on the way that you and Brenda positioned this to us, you know, we have clients of ours that have also engaged in this process. But I think that if the rep firm in that national platform is going to be relevant into the future, we have to be part of this process. The wait is not an option. The ignore it is not an option. The idea that you can build something and be part of that solution is exciting for all of us. I think into the future, we will all have certain pieces of our technology that's proprietary because that's our secret sauce. But the overarching industry technologies, everybody's got to lean into it. Everybody's got to be a part of it.
And Al, I'm going to come to you, but I'm going to change the question up here a little bit.
Okay.
You know this is true, right? What I'm about to say. And if you don't, then please just play along. There are some broadcasters out there, they do not share or even work on technology with other broadcasters. Their belief is that their competitor is Hearst or it's Graham or it's right. They don't view the Amazons, the Googles, the Facebooks as their true competitor. So how, from your perspective, right? You're sitting in those shoes. When you think about that, how do you as an organization at Hearst say, we want to build some things together so that we as an industry move forward? Like, how do you make that decision?
I think we all share common interests, and I think there are things that differentiate us from a competitive perspective, but that's related to our brands and our content, not our technology. We all share the same vision, which is good for our industry. And I think that's where these partnerships become important and why we were interested in partnering with Matrix, because we share those common goals of keeping our industry relevant and drawing an audience to us. And, you know, I think we all work together to make sure that succeeds.
Yeah. And then Stephanie, I'm gonna keep going with changing the question on you because I know you love it.
I do.
But it really is to the question of costs, right? Is you all change, you've partnered with us, and just so people know, Graham is otherwise not a Matrix client. You all made that decision to partner with us. And for me, I'm curious, don't get me wrong, right? There's the idea of building the technology you need, participating, but also we're looking to make this, particularly for you all, a affordable transition, right? So that it is, you're investing in it, you're partnering, but you should also reap those rewards. And, you know, listen, as I said, those who take the risk should reap the rewards. And I believe that if you're taking the risk, not only should you be making money because you're doing better transacting your own inventory, you should be making money off this technology. how much of your analysis and getting into the partnership would have been on that side? And how much of it is in making your, streamlining the ad buying process?
Actually, the majority of it was on the side of having a seat at the table to build what we believe will be next, the technology that will be next. That was the bulk of it. The financial side and the money that we would make on it, we see as an interesting piece. But really, when your question came about, do you partner? We're a small company, and so we are really, when you compare us to the tech industry, we're a small industry, right? When you compare how many developers work at Facebook and Google and Amazon and that. So we believe in the value of not just partnering with Matrix on this piece of technology, but also the value of these other partners that are on the phone or on the call, because we feel that we together can solve this problem, and us having a seat at the table was the main driver behind that investment.
Well, now I will say, from my standpoint, what are we talking? Close to $700 billion worth of ads a year. I only want half the market in this product. That's it. Not greedy. So when we think about this technology that we're endeavoring, right? In the beginning of this conversation, you all talked about what you're looking to solve for. What are your biggest needs? What of those needs will be met or really accelerated by this technology? And I will say, Brenda quoted me, that is my motto. How do we make this industry easy to buy, easy to understand, easy to buy, easy to measure? So Ann, I'm going to ask you to start us off here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the greatest outcome is getting the unique offerings that each of our clients have to the buy side in a more efficient way, so that the real conversations, the selling and consultative selling and unique conversations that meet advertisers' needs can happen. I have tremendous sellers. The last thing I need them to be doing is fingers on a keyboard, updating spreadsheets or swiveling from one piece to another. They have great selling minds, marketing minds, that I want them to be with these advertisers and bring those advertisers back into local broadcast, because so many of them have abandoned the space, to Stephanie and Karen's point, that it's been too hard and it's been too inefficient.
And Al, what are your thoughts? I'll let you go before Karen.
That's great. Listen, our business is changing and evolving. The currency's changing, as we've talked about. Our platforms are changing. Our digital business is becoming more relevant, and most of us have been in this industry for a long time. And we've spent our whole careers adapting our business processes to the technology so that we can figure out how to transact our business. And you can use example after example today. At Hearst, I can candidly admit that, we don't have a single order entry platform. We don't have the ability to send a converged invoice currently, but those are the things that we're working on. And what we want to do with the technology innovation that we want to invest in is reverse the paradigm. We want to get in front of these trends before they become highly relevant and adapt the technology so it will meet the needs of the evolving business process.
Al, I'm going to make a comment, and anyone always feel free to jump in here, right? It's a conversation. So because it's funny you say that. I was just having the conversation today where we were talking about, as ad tech companies, a lot of ad tech companies are constantly trying to build their tech to meet the demands and needs of the client. So either there's a happy medium that everybody's reaching or everybody's unhappy. I'm not sure in that relationship, right? But it was interesting that you say that.
I'd be curious to hear how many people are content with their tech platforms and their workflows currently, because I think that'll be a small number of people.
Well, I also as you know, we had some new folks start with us this morning, actually. They're here doing training to be customer service and tech representatives on Admiral. So we're in the training process, and I said, 6 years ago, Matrix was what I would term a legacy ad tech company. And that's all you need to say. I mean, that is not something you ever want to be called.
Right.
We know, right? I can see Stephanie's laughing, but you know that's a bad word.
Yes.
So from your perspective, Stephanie, when you look at what we're doing here together, what is it solving? One of the things that I personally believe, and I promoted it, my background in private equity hedge funds, I know how to raise money. I believe this technology should help you bridge the way you used to sell to selling impressions. I'm not saying we can do everything in it, right? But it's the front of the house, helping them make the transition and then start pointing those orders to new ways of executing. How much of that was, as you see, solving here, and what else are you looking to solve in this product?
We believe in automation to drive innovation. So there are, and our customers, our clients, our agency clients, particularly on the national side, are driving this bus too, saying, we've got this, like Karen said, we have this giant media department for TV, but we don't have that for digital. And so we see this as a real opportunity to streamline pieces of our business that right now are very, very janky, right? And so in streamlining, not to reduce our workforce, but instead to repurpose portions of our workforce for innovation, which we all need to get to respond to the needs of our customers, our viewers, and our clients and our viewers. And so that's really what we're looking for, is how can we streamline this process, not only for our customers, but also for ourselves, so we can focus on innovation and take the repeatable tasks out of our process.
I do have, for the other three panelists, a show of hands, how many people have ever heard this word janky?
I thought it was a really good word.
It is. I wrote it down,
So
but
many things.
I've never heard it.
All encompassing.
Yes, it's
You can feel it though when you say it. You feel it when you say it.
You do. I think though janky is never a good thing.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not. And you recognize janky when you're in the midst of it.
I get it, right? So Karen, I'm totally changing the question on you. When we think of trying to make this easy to understand, easy to buy, easy to measure, do you think the you're going to kill me for this question. Do you think the agencies are an impediment to this process or an enabler?
That is a hard question. To be honest, I think they want us to plug into their technology. They know what they need because they're the experts in their space, and we know what we need. We're experts in our space. So all we can do is bridge to halfway across the river to meet their needs in their platforms. I don't think we need them to tell us how to build what we have, and I don't think the other is true. I'd be the last person you wanted to ask what an agency needs. I've never worked in one. So I rely on their expertise on that side, but I want to build something that absolutely plugs into what they have to give them what they need and free our sellers up to be out on the street, because as hard as I've ever tried, there hasn't been anybody in one of our TV stations that wanted to buy something.
I guess so. In my mind, I hear what you're saying, right? And we are building this. We are a sell side platform, right? This is not we're hooking into Mediaocean, Hudson, Strata, etc. But the way agencies buy, are they hindering change? This is what I hear. I don't know agencies as well. Maybe Ann, you have a perspective, given you sell a lot of national.
We do sell a lot of national.
Yes, all national.
So you raise an interesting point, and I'd like to sort of extend what Karen was just saying. They are experts in their client and their advertisers and what they need to do. But we haven't been able to tell a good enough story because of the process. We are lost in the process. And so this isn't about price cutting. This isn't about devaluing what we have to offer. It's about getting it to a place where it can be fairly evaluated, positioned, and consumed by those future advertisers for anyone in the space. And so agencies have a lot of technology issues on their end too, and they are trying to solve it. I love what Karen said. We're trying to bridge something in the middle so that they can solve for themselves, we can solve for ourselves, and together we will bring more advertisers back into this space and get a fair analysis against the Facebooks of the world and the digital options of the world. And that will rise, that will take advantage of the premium inventory that we have to offer.
Well said, very inspiring. So we have a few minutes left, and I do want to get to this question. And now, for me, I talked about it in the pregame, which I think this is the first time you guys were able to catch that. And again, Brenda and I are looking for a deal. I think that's premium content right there. Think of what you could get advertising dollars for that, baby. But I do believe with cord cutting, and it is amazing to me because I've had people say to me, oh yeah, I just got an antenna, and they're like very excited about it. Like it's because yeah, they have Netflix or Amazon or whatever you have, right? But at the same time, it's very limiting, and you give them a breadth of more content. So when you guys think about your future internally, and I don't know how much you can share or not, but how much of that do you think could be based on free over the air? How much of it's going to be running through, streaming services? Yeah, I mean, cable is clearly not dying today, right? I mean, it's going to be here. Listen, I got a massive cable bill. So me alone is going to support cable. But what are your thoughts?
I think the way I view this fundamentally is number one, we're content companies competing in local markets, developing, serving our communities, developing a brand identity for our product. What the marketplace is showing us is people want to consume that content in different ways, and they want to consume that content on different platforms. What the trends we're seeing is our viewership on our core linear channels is as strong as it ever was. There isn't, it's stagnating, maybe eroding a little bit, but there isn't the mass exodus that we thought. What we are seeing is we have growing opportunities on streaming platforms, on mobile devices, through new products, through new innovation, to reach new audience or extend our audience to these new platforms. And we're really excited about the opportunities that are out there. And we're embracing ATSC, and we think that that is yet another new platform. And it's not only a way to extend our audience, but it's a way to perhaps provide advanced advertising opportunities that will enable us to further satisfy our clients, the buying community, to provide them with new products and new opportunities on how we can reach that audience on their behalf.
Stephanie, any additional thoughts on, or are you all viewing it maybe the same, differently than Alice?
Very similar. We look at it that, the fast forward button was put on during COVID-19 because we got adoption of the technology that otherwise would have taken years for people to adapt to, right? People, especially, you know, older people and people who were not streaming natives. And so the fast forward button was put on for us. Now they're like, oh, we totally get this. We can input around, we can flip around our TV. So now that actually changed the game a little bit. It gave us different opportunities that maybe wouldn't have existed before that we're paying attention to. The other thing that all of it gives us is the opportunity and the ability to actually have two-way communications with our customers that we just don't have today, our viewers that we just don't have today, right? We're broadcast and pushing out. Now we can continue those conversations on more of what looks like a linear stream, as we do on our digital platforms as well. So that's a big opportunity for us. But right now we're in that, we have a lot of bets out there, right? And we're kind of doing this, like what's going to happen, which one's going to be it. And so that's what we're working on, is figuring out the listening tour and getting back the data that tells us they're interested here, but maybe they don't want this, but they're interested over here, but they want something different. And so again, why innovation is so important to us, and having the resources in our company to innovate content, because now it's different. It's not just the same content put on a different channel. We've got to deliver different content on potentially many of these different channels that we have. But we consider it an amazing opportunity to delight our viewers, right? To find a way to get, they're already interested in this streaming phenomena, right? How can we continue? And we hear from all of the BMPVDs that they still want us, right? They're still looking for local content. So how can we serve that to them in unique and interesting ways? And that's really our differentiator. While we're all, you know, partnering, to Al's point on the technology, our differentiator can be there, how we figure out our unique ways to serve our viewers.
Karen, you know, when Stephanie was talking about people who are older and having trouble with the remote, she was talking about me. I'm curious, you remember maybe, I think it was 2013, 2014 ARIA or whatever it was called. It was this antenna with the DVR in it, and they purchased it and you could get over the air. I don't know all the details, but I do remember, because it was really big in New York, it was making watching over the air free TV cool. I mean, it was kind of cool. Like, people were like, this cool tech. The broadcasters, cable companies, you know, the retrans fees, obviously, particularly at that time, how many public broadcasters were valued on Wall Street was not ad revenue, it was retrans fees. They sued. Do you think that was a mistake? And now she's like, oh my God, now my CFO is gonna kill me.
I will give you
if
my
I say
personal
yes.
opinion. I will give you my personal opinion. I can't speak for Gray because I don't know
Okay.
what Gray as a whole would say, but I would say, in my opinion, it was not a mistake. The one thing that we have as local broadcasters are our local content, and that is the most valuable asset we have, besides our human assets, which are amazing also. And I think we tried that already with cable. I think I was still a teenager, but they had free access to our channels for a really long time. And then they joined us in the advertising space and took a big chunk of that too. So I think if we had let that go, I think it would have spiraled into something that would have been very hard for us to control in the future. So I say no.
I would also say it's an interesting connection now that we are getting up into this fast channels conversation where we've got multiple companies saying, hey, we have a streaming bundle over here, just put it over here and maybe we'll give you some monetization, maybe we won't. But it's interesting that that's kind of coming back in a different way, like, through some of the other providers.
Yeah.
Al, any thoughts on that? And that's an interesting perspective, Karen. One I had not thought of.
Yeah, there's two things, and Mary Collins just posted something in the chat that, yeah, you got to be worried about copyright issues because our content is our content, and we have to be sure that we retain ownership of that content. But to the other point, and some of what we're talking about is, as long as we have a way to monetize those platforms that are out there and either get retrans fees or audience measurement or impressions associated with it, I think we're happy to put our content on any platform. I think the ARIA model was that we were not going to get any type of compensation for it. And that's known as theft in most industries.
And I think that's fair. And I like what they did in Australia where they now charge Google when anyone clicks on news through Google.
Right.
I think that's fair. So, so Anne, I'm going to end with you here. We're probably coming up on time. But when you think about the shift from traditional selling to impressions based, how do you think how will that impact your business? How does that change how you sell?
So impression-based buying is the best path for all of us. We said it at the beginning that we have to watch that comparative value conversation. Impressions are consumed and recalled differently depending on how and where they're being consumed. The technology that we're all working for is going to allow us to get advertisers to meet all of those impressions wherever they are, but that comparative value needs to be solved at the same time. There's premium inventory, there are premium impressions, and there are extensions of those impressions, and we have to, as me being an extension of those content providers, we have to be able to evaluate that and collectively put that into the advertisers' hands so they can take advantage of that content.
Great.
Hey, Mark, this is Brenda. Can you hear me? I'm sorry to jump in, but there was a question from the audience. Local TV has been talking for decades, and I would love for this group to address it. Decades about streamlining spot TV transactions. How is what you're doing now just more talk? How much of a fee will you have to pay to connect your software to wide orbits traffic and billing software? So because this group, I think that it's really important that you answer this question. Because I think we have answered it, right? You guys are working. I mean, like, I would like for this group to answer it.
Yeah, I would say on our side, the how is it not just more talk is truly we're all making investments on this, pretty significant investments, because we see a future here that used to be a 5 years away future. That's always what we would say. Oh, they'll be fine. We'll work it out eventually. But now we're seeing these largely national clients and larger regional clients go, nah, watching the budget start to drift. And the feedback that we get time and time again is it's just easier to go over here, right? And I can still accomplish, in their minds, we don't agree with that, but in their minds, I can still accomplish what I needed to accomplish and check that box. And so we now have, it has been talked about for years, Kathy, we now have the urgency behind it.
I'll just add one quick point. I know we're running short on time, is that, here at Gray, we're going live on this platform in a number of weeks, and we will be completely on this platform by September 1st. So if that's not putting our money and our reputation on the line for something, I don't know what is. This is the right step at the right time, and we're making it. So I think for our companies, I think we are putting our assets behind this, and we're taking that step.
Yeah, I can add the comment that, the advocacy hat that goes on is you have to embrace the open APIs, the tip APIs, and we're going to promote that as an industry. And I know everybody on this call is embracing that. We're going to encourage our partners to build open platforms, and Matrix Admiral is going to be an open platform. So, that's one of the reasons that we were interested in partnering. And we know we're going to have to do integrations with third parties, even with common APIs. No one's looking for a handout or anything for free. What we're looking for is to pay for development and to pay platform fees for anything that's out there that are reasonable. So as long as everybody's cooperative and embracing those concepts, I think everything will move forward very effectively.
So I'm just going to add one point to that, and then we're gonna go, because we do like to keep this short, not a full hour. It's a webinet. You all know our philosophy as a company, and I tell this to every ad tech company. They can choose to do what they want, but when it comes to APIs, we at Matrix, we only charge maintenance fees to cover our costs. We
Mhm.
believe it's your data. It should be able to free flow. And we're only asking that, you know, if we have to adjust something, you help us, but otherwise we make no profit. We think this is a good philosophy. But anyway, I wanted to thank you all for joining us, everybody in the audience, Brenda for the pregame, Al, Ann, Stephanie, Karen, you guys were fantastic. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank
Until
you.
next
Bye,
time.
everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.